Battletech, X-Wing miniatures, Pacific Rim Extinction, Warhammer 40K, Judge Dredd miniatures. All wargaming systems that I enjoy. And Chain of Command. How could I leave out Chain of Command, Historicals, DBA, DBN? And in all of these various systems that I enjoy, I find that there are certain tabletop fundamentals, certain wargaming tabletop fundamentals where naturally the rules are there to evoke a narrative and to create this simulation on the tabletop, modified by the dice or cards, the fog of war. But there is this checklist of stuff that happens in every game. There are these opportunities on the table that we're trying to train ourselves to look out for. And one of the things that I pushed up to my channel under the Wargaming Tactica playlist was the various stages of wargaming that we go through whenever you start a new system or if you're new to the hobby. And there is this learning curve. Naturally, we can cut down the learning curve by just brute force, getting in there and playing games. And at the end of the day, that's what we need to do. But hopefully in listening to some vlogs and watching some videos and reading articles in your system of choice, you can cut down. You can cut down that learning curve. And I just wanted to touch on the four aspects really, really fast. And again, I go into greater detail up in the Wargaming Tactica playlist archive. But I feel like it's important to framework this because we're going to try and come in on a very, very high level and identify that kind of number one danger point. So first we begin by learning the rules. And by learning the rules, that doesn't mean memorizing them, but understanding the flow of the game, understanding the places of how the game works out. You go, I go, various interruptions, different phases of the game. And certainly we can look up rules and often resolve rules. But coming to a proficiency of understanding what you can do and what you can't do in the game. Once we work on mastering that, we work on understanding the various armies and factions. How do these units work? What is the synergy between them? How do we play the different missions? And we become familiar with that. We get to a level where now we begin to develop a play style. What do you want to do on the tabletop? What type of tabletop glory do you want to earn? What kind of list do you want to run? What kind of ships do you want to fly? And then we take it to the final level where we're able to play the game and all these things come together where we know the rules, we know the units, we know where we need to be, we know where we need to do. So now you can begin to look for mistakes that your opponent makes. And these mistakes might be calculated mistakes and uncalculated mistakes. So an uncalculated mistake is just one that you make a tactical blunder for whatever reason. You're not aware of the rules, you're not aware of the synergy, you're not aware of the missions. I mean, this happens all the time. A calculated mistake, and I make these all the time. Battletech, I'm piloting my Stalker. I know I shouldn't push that heat, but we've gone to internals. You're hurt. You're hurt. You've got an ammo bin right there. If I can push that heat and hit you, I'm going to explode your mech. We're going to go for it. Or I'm going to take a risk and take the hill and plant my flag for tabletop glory. I'm going to take my risk and charge. It might be short. I might just be like half an inch short on that charge, but I'm going to go for it because of tabletop glory. Those mistakes are calculated. We're making a decision. We're seeing what we can do. Being able to spot the mistakes an opponent makes and capitalize on them is massive. Often it's said the player that is not only the most decisive and most bold, but the player that makes the least amount of mistakes wins the game. I would tweak that a little bit and say the player that is able to recognize, capitalize, put themselves in a position with their units so when their opponent makes a mistake, they can realize it and crush them on it. That is the place we want to be. So this leads into a point now where we've talked about when learning a war game. Often there'll be war games with turns. Let's say we play till 6 turns or we play till 10 turns. One of the ways to become decisive, and it does kind of kill the narrative a little bit, but we're practicing, we're training. Play 3 turns. Play 3 turns. Get yourself within 3 turns, massive momentum, massive position of victory, where if the game were to logically conclude out, yes, the variable of the dice and cards and just the fog of war, but if the game was going to play out, continue out, chances would be very good that you're going to win. By positioning yourself and really training yourself turn 3 before you move into the mid game, or if it's 10 turns, turn 5, before you move into the mid turn of the game, you are in a great position to win. Building that momentum and being able to execute that on the tabletop gets you to a point where we never want to say never. You always play the game out. But if the game plays out, you're in a good place to win. That's where we want to go. Now, this capstone of Tactica, this is a dangerous place to be. So this is now leading into the actual subject of the Tactica. This is a dangerous place to be because when you are ahead or you are in a position to win, but your opponent still has some fight left or something unexpected or just, look, the dice are crazy, that is a dangerous place to be because it's easy to let your guard down or now think, well, I'm in a great place to win, so now maybe I'll try to do this. I'll play with that. We'll see what happens. The game can flip very, very fast. This duality of positioning yourself turn 3 to win, but then when you're in a place to win, keeping the pressure on. That's what we don't want to lose sight of. And I tend to make this mistake a lot going for tabletop glory, where I'm in a good position turn 3, but you can't present tabletop glory and not have me take it. Just the chance to win the assault, the chance to take the day, the chance to do something cool on the table, the chance to ride out there with my commander. Like I just have to do it. You can't issue that challenge. Now let's flip that around for a minute. For whatever reason, you find yourself mid-game where things aren't going as well. You're under a lot of tabletop pressure. Your opponent has momentum. They're winning the game. And now you're looking and saying, okay, if they continue in this direction, chances are they're going to win the game. What do we do? Well, first of all, always play it out. I mean, there's this social contract. You and I are sitting down to create some memories. We're taking time out of real life. We're going to do this wargaming thing. I owe you the respect that even if turn 1 you're crushing me, we're going to play it out. I'm going to do the best that I can. I have never given up on a game. I say that from a point of pride. I will always play it out. There were some 40K tournaments that were very, very competitive, and turn 1, based on the amazing ability of the players and the broken rule set, turn 1, I was just decimated. I was just alpha strike, back in the day, guard leaf blower lists and stuff like this. I played it out. Let's just see what happens. I'm going to make you earn that victory. If anything, in a competitive game, maybe I can exhaust you a little bit. So the next round, you're a little bit more tired for that next opponent. Maybe I'll get payback from that perspective. But always playing the game out, whether it's competitive or narrative, because we have that contract. Also always play it out because, look, you never know. If I find myself mid-game being in trouble, then at that point, I want to go defensive. I want to dig in. I want to look and say, every unit that I have left on the table, how do I fortify myself in a place where you have to earn it? You have to commit. You have to really extend and reach yourself. I'm looking for a term to capture it. I mean, going defensive implies not attacking. I can be defensive and attack, but I want to make it as difficult as possible for you, because in doing that, you have this momentum. You're going to hit against that brick wall. You're going to start to stall. Maybe you'll start to make mistakes. And if you make those mistakes, then I can capitalize on them and take that momentum. So yes, we're absolutely looking at a very, very high level. But as we make it through the rules, as we make it through Tactica, as you build your lists, armadas, armies, as you develop your player personality, we get to this point of playing without thinking. And we want to make sure that while we're not necessarily focusing on the exact point on the table and we're looking at the overall Tactica, we're aware, we're trying not to make mistakes, and we are trying to exploit the mistakes that our opponent is making.